You're in the right place at the right time, stretching from the distant spaceports of Batu, Tatooine, and Lothal, all the way to the bright center of the galaxy at Imperial Center, slamming into your holoprojector like a supercharged nanoparticle of coaxium. This is the Star Wars Unfiltered podcast. I'm John, he's Jason, and we're here to bring you your needed dose of Star Wars film, TV, book, comic, gaming, and collecting news. Date is January 24th, 2021. And today we have our
2022.
I got the year wrong. Yeah, you're
Still
right.
getting used to
It's
it. Yeah.
2020. Apparently I need to update my intro text here. And today's episode, we're going to be focusing on the book of Boba Fett. Have a little mid-season review because we got 4 episodes under our belt now. And obviously we took some time off with the holidays, and it started around Thanksgiving and then stretched into the holidays, and then I had a computer crash and had to get a new phone from a cracked screen. I had a friend pass away. How's your last month or two been, Jason?
I have COVID, or I'm getting over it. So
That's great. That's a great way to sum up everything I just said. It's like
yeah,
all this shit, and then you got COVID.
it's the icing
So
on the cake.
yeah, wow. I mean, besides all those setbacks and everything, and obviously, I lost a friend and everything, but it's just like, man, we had a lot of stuff happen. So the podcast and some recording obviously took not just a backseat, but like it was like 4 levels down, 5 levels down on like priority. So it was good to get some time off. I mean, we still got some Lord Play commentary videos up on the channel and everything, but we recorded those like early November, I think, for
Yeah.
Super Return of the Jedi and Super Empire. So at least those are quick and easy. But yeah, it's good to do another podcast episode and just catch everybody up because we got the Book of Boba Fett. It's out now since late December. And what do you think of the show so far?
It has its ups and downs. Um, I do have issues, but overall, I think it's pretty good. And that's just like mid-season for
Yeah.
a tight little mini series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I wasn't as down as a lot of people were after the first episode, um, but
People slaughtered that first episode
yeah,
as if it represented everything.
I don't really. It wasn't that bad. I mean, I only had some minor
No.
quibbles about it, some
I yeah,
minor
I
issues.
it's funny. I thought it was fine. I didn't know what people were expecting. To me, I wasn't expecting anything. I was going in with very low expectations, and pretty much I was like, it's just what do you want? It's just going to be like a little Fett miniseries, and we didn't know where the story was going or anything other than the little tease we had at the end of The Mandalorian season 2.
Right.
So I don't
So
know, but
how do you feel about it so
I
far
think
into the
you
series?
know I was thinking today in reflecting on the last few episodes, I would, if I had to rate it like on a 5-star thing, I'd give it like 3 stars, which is by
Mm-hmm.
no means bad. It's good. That means that there's some 4-star stuff in there, but then there's some 2-star stuff in there too. So it's a
Yeah.
little, it's just kind of in the middle. But I'll tell you the things I like about it though. First, just looking at it from a topical perspective,
Okay.
the
Well,
one of the
let's do our likes.
yes,
And then let's get into the episode by episode.
we will. We're gonna do very specific things here, but just overall, I want to say one of the best things is Tamara Morrison. Seeing him come
Yes.
back to this role after playing Django and the clones in the prequels, and giving him an opportunity now again to do Fett, because all he did was the ADR on the DVD for like the trilogy,
Yeah.
like to do those lines again. He never got to physically play Fett until Mandalorian. So it's great to see him again. Uh, and I think I don't know. I think it's different. Like people criticize that Fett seems to have a hard time fighting, or he's just like taken out too easily in the series, and especially the first episode, which I thought was a strange criticism because he just fought his way out of a Sarlacc pit. So,
Um, yeah, I mean, there's the whole Bacta thing, you know. I mean,
yeah,
it's it's never spelled out, but I mean, maybe people think it's mainly for the like the scars and
that's what I
stuff,
was
but it could
thinking.
be.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't I don't know that Boba would care that much about scars versus
He
there
has
could
he
be.
has Sarlacc cancer.
Well, it could be like you know, lung damage too and stuff. So could
Yeah,
be winding
yeah,
him. You know, I mean that's how I take it, especially in this last episode. You know, his back to treatment is complete now.
that's
So it's
right.
kind of implied that like, okay, now's when the action's really going to start. Like we've
Right,
sort of laid out how everything's working, and then now the meat and potatoes are coming.
right. Jumping right into episode 1,
Well,
Stranger in a
what about
Strange
me?
Land.
What do I like?
What do you like?
I like Tamora Morrison
Yeah.
and the locales. Okay, going
Oh,
back
yeah,
to
yeah.
Tatooine.
That's what I was gonna say
Yeah,
too.
that's like the two biggest things. So it doesn't matter how good or bad the story is or certain things. Seeing Tamora as Boba Fett and being back on Tatooine
Yeah,
and
see, and
all
also
the little Easter eggs and fan servicey stuff is
yes,
really nice.
that is great. Obviously, we always love that, especially me. I'm a very continuity kind of guy, and it's cool to see locations be expanded that previously we only did like in RPG or novels, like Jabba's palace. We've not
Yeah,
seen too many other interiors of the palace other than the throne room and some things. And actually, that's one of the things I liked about the recent Battlefront games is Jabba's palace is a map. I think in both of them, and just running around the palace and seeing how the throne room connects to the Rancor pit and then connects to like the droid torture chamber. And it was really fun in that game to run around and see the detail they put into the map.
yeah.
But
Prior to this, it was just Super Return of the Jedi.
Super Return of the Jedi, and
That's how I know the layout of the
yeah,
palace.
Jabba's palace has not been expanded it too much. There was like kind of a small map in the old technical journal, but
Hmm.
that just showed a couple rooms off of the throne room. So yeah, that's a great location. And then we also get to see more of Mos Espa, although strangely, it doesn't look like quite the same as we've seen it because it's like in a sunken like
Yeah,
pit area.
we can talk about that when we get into the first episode. Um,
Yeah.
so
So
you mentioned
Stranger in a Strange Land.
continuity. You mentioned continuity. I would just like to point out that at least so far we haven't seen any ships go to hyperspace in the atmosphere in the gravity well. So far so good.
That's because J.J. Abrams is not directly involved here
Yeah, they're
in
not
any way.
hyperspace skipping or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, yeah, there's none of that weird stuff
All right,
that
so
is
let's talk about
dumb.
episode 1.
All right, Stranger in a Strange Land, and this one is one of a couple so far directed by Robert Rodriguez, and all of them are written by Jon Favreau up to what we've seen. I assume all of them are,
I believe the
maybe.
whole
And
series is written by
yeah,
Favreau.
yeah. Now, what did you think of the Sarlacc escape? Because we talked about it a little bit during our gameplay of Super Empire. What it might be. Was it? It was more or less kind of like what we were thinking. Although I don't know. In some ways, I almost felt like it was underwhelming.
I
I don't
don't
know.
know what it could have been, you know, that wouldn't be underwhelming. I mean, other than him like flying back out of it, you know,
Or
she
blowing it up, and then
there's like pictures, you know, that people have
yeah,
made of him like flying out, flamethrowing it and
yeah,
shooting and
yeah,
all this stuff. But um, then they would have to show him like repairing his jetpack in the Sarlacc. So um, I don't know. It's I guess it's what I had imagined. You know, like
yeah.
maybe not him coming up out of the sand. That seems rough.
That
That would
was
be tough.
interesting. That'd
That
be really hard.
could be like you know, kind of a prison escape kind of
Yeah,
homage. Certain
yeah.
movies. But it's what I thought. In my mind, for some reason, I always imagined the belly of the Sarlacc to be a little bit more cavernous, but I
Hmm.
don't know why. It's just something that's stuck in my head. Not as
It's
like tightly packed like it was.
it's probably residual memories of the Fett story from Tales from Jabba's Palace, where I think he kind of describes it as going off into the darkness when he tries to see the other
Yeah, because he
side.
like walks around, right, in that story.
He doesn't walk around in it, but he's hanging on this like tentacle kind of thing off the
Uh huh.
ceiling, and he can kind of use his visor to like see further in, but it seems massive. It seems like cavernous, like huge. But you're right. The show it seemed kind of smallish, which I don't know. Whatever. It's
It's
just
a
one of
it's a
those things.
stomach. I mean, yeah, I wasn't overwhelmed or underwhelmed. I actually would have preferred if they didn't even show it. If they just
Yeah,
implied it and then
yeah,
it was something that was referenced, but they never actually showed it. But a
yeah.
lot of people want to see that, so I totally get why they did
I
that, and
like
it's
I
fine.
said
I didn't see a
before.
problem with it.
Like I said before, I knew they were going to show it because it's the most. This is actually an example of really basic fan service. This is like Maz handing Chewie the medal, kind of. It's on that level.
Oh
So
no
I
no 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 no! That is not on that
to me
level.
it almost is. It almost is.
No, that's not meta. That's too meta. That's people outside of the movie, pointing out that Chewie didn't get a medal. It's not. This makes sense. You know.
This is people outside of the movie pointing out that Fett needs to escape the Sarlacc.
Well,
So,
but he didn't. It's not like you're having some like weird OC, new OC from Abrams, handing the medal over.
right, that's true, huh? So continuing this flashback, Fett has his armor stripped by Jawas after he gets out of the Sarlacc, before he's found by a tribe of Tusken
Oh, and
raiders.
and let me just say there was at least one or two like very recycled Jawa sounds, like speech,
Oh yeah, for
like
sure.
straight from A New Hope, and I was just like, that's a little too recycled for me.
Yeah, I noticed that too. When Jawas show up, sometimes you hear those little phrases pop up again. So yeah, he's found by a tribe of Tusken raiders, and through a series of torturous trials, soon comes to work with and respect their ways. Um, so a lot of this episode was flashback with Fett. At this point, he's not really living with the Tuskens; he's their prisoner, and there was that other Rhodian who was tied up and captured with him, and
They're always scumbags too.
they're what Rhodians.
Rhodians are always scumbags.
Yeah, I know. Have you ever seen one that was like compassionate and was, giving and helping somebody?
Well,
No.
according to old EU too, they smelled really bad.
Oh, that's right, Greedo. Wooer and the
Making that
other king.
drink for
That's
Java.
right. They needed his essence.
Ugh.
Um, so anyway, this episode flashes back and forth with Fett dealing with being the Tusken's prisoner for a time period, and then in the present timeline, Fett has already claimed Jabba's throne, recently occupied by Bib Fortuna, and is pulled into the intrigue and local politics of Tatooine as various townsfolk pay tribute. And Finnick offers to kill somebody every 3 minutes, apparently. Um, there was some jokes about that. I saw some memes. Um, and then I like the two Gamorreans that Fett takes on as his enforcers. Like that's kind of the only muscle he really has in the palace besides Finnick,
Yeah.
for the time.
And
And then
he's
because
sort of over the series, he's like assembling
yes, his
his
army.
muscle, his army, his personal army.
Right. And then 8D8, the torture droid. Well, he's not really a torture droid. He is a labor droid torturing droids in Return of the Jedi. He seems to be upgraded to advisor status in this
Yeah, I mean,
series.
he definitely got a promotion.
Yeah, no kidding. It's kind of funny too because that was one of the few figures I had as a kid. I had the droid torture chamber playset, and which
Wow, what a family friendly
yeah,
playset.
I know, right? It was just like a gray platform with this crane thing, and I think you just hang the droids. It doesn't
Yeah.
have the little like thing that stamps their feet. Um,
They should have had a thing where you could like drop, like like a little pill into water, and then it makes it bubble, and it
Yeah, I
just
know,
bubble
right?
out of the feet, you know?
That'd be awesome. Torture the power droid. Um, so anyway, Fett's got his little crew here at Jabba's palace. And throughout the present timeline, as the episode goes on, Fett and Fennec visit a local pleasure den run by Jennifer Beals. Now, do you remember what famous movie she is from?
Flashdance.
Yes, that's the only thing I know her from. But I know she was in a bunch of things over the years, but she's most well known for Flashdance.
And now Star Wars.
And now Star Wars, and she's still looking good, I gotta say, for all these years later. Um, Makes a good Twilight Twilight Flash dancer. Um, so she's running this gambling den, which seems to feature a mashup between Max Rebo and what seems to be Figure and Dan of the Modal Nodes, but since all Bith look the same and they all seem to wear black and play instruments, I don't know if it's him.
It probably
Um,
is.
Probably is.
It probably is.
But they're playing a variation on the Cantina theme from Star Wars. It even says on the screen like Cantina theme or whatever. If you have subtitles on. So
Yeah.
that was cool. I was happy to see Max Rebo alive and well. Apparently, he jumped onto a skiff off the back of the sail barge before it blew up,
Yeah.
along with Bib. Um, so yeah, this was a cool scene. I liked all the little. There was a lot of Easter eggs, and when they walked into the gambling den, there was like the RX pilot droid from the original Star Tours, now reprogrammed as a car dealer.
Yep.
Um,
That was neat.
That was really cool, and it clearly wasn't Rex. It's another RX droid from the
Yeah.
paint job,
Yeah.
but I just like seeing it because any little
Well,
Star Tours
until
reference.
like Boba, comes up, talks to him, and then you get what's his face doing the
Paul
voice? Paul
Rubens,
Rubens, yeah, Pee Wee.
who did do voice an RX droid in Rebels. So you never know.
Yeah.
Could see Rex again.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I like the little Easter eggs in here, and then of course Fett and
This
Finnick.
scene is the beginning of a problem. One of the handful of major issues I have with this series,
Mhm.
and that's the lighting, the way they lit everything
You
is
do you think it's
very
too well lit?
it's very TV lit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
now that you mention it.
atmospheric. And Jabba's
It
palace has this problem really bad later
Yeah, you're
on.
right, you're right.
But
Um,
I think that's just the way it's TV. I mean, this isn't TV, but it's TV.
well,
So
at least it's not the whoever decided to, put the tent on everything on in, Solo, because that movie
oh
was
yeah, yeah.
dim as fuck, and there was,
Well,
like,
that
literally
but that makes it more cinematic, right? I mean, sometimes
oh,
it's too
man.
much, but I don't know. It's really inconsistent in Hollywood now.
There's a balance, and I read an interview with that cinematographer explaining why they wanted him to do what he did, and he has a certain style and lighting certain scenes looked fine, like the gambling den on Vandor in Solo.
Mhm.
But then it was scenes like in the Millennium Falcon cockpit where you can like barely see their faces and stuff. It
Yeah.
was anyway, side tangent.
Right.
No,
But
you're right
anyway,
though.
that's like one of the main issues. But it's not it's whatever.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
technical issue. That's not a problem with the
right,
series itself. So
right.
anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, so basically to cap the a lot of the plot of the episode so we can focus on other things. Fett and Finnick are attacked by assassins, later revealed to be assassins of the Night Wind, which is an elite mercenary group normally only seen in hut space. Um, and then it kind of ends with the capture of the last guy left of the assassins. And the flashback it switches back to that where Fett and his Rhodian prisoner companion are taken into the desert, where they're eventually attacked by a previously unknown four-armed creature. This seems to be a tribute to Ray Harryhausen's stop-motion effects in general, and specifically the Kraken from Clash of the Titans in
Mhm.
particular. Um, What do you think of that scene?
It was good. Um I like the creature design. Uh
Yeah,
because I'm a big fan of the old Harryhausen special effect movies, and
yeah,
Clash of the Titans was really good. And the
yep.
Kraken's
I
design
loved
was
it.
awesome. So it was cool seeing something that was pretty clearly based on that design.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and you know, it's I think it's always cool to see more of the creatures from Tatooine,
Mhm.
because we've seen so few, and you know there's got to be more in the ecosystem. So
That was the thing. There was certain people criticizing, like, well, why haven't we seen this before? And it's like, well, you do realize it's a whole planet, right? Like, I know Star Wars, there's a trope of like every planet having a couple aliens in one town, but it's like because for story reasons you got to keep things moving. But like you have to remember it's an entire planet, and clearly this creature is rare. Otherwise, when Fett takes it out by choking it and defeating it, the Tuscans, gave him respect finally. So
mhm.
clearly to them, it was some kind of semi-mythological beast that they've never defeated or almost never. So, you know, basically won his freedom. And the other criticism I saw was that people were like, well, why didn't Fett immediately go to the nearest town and leave the planet? Well, maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he felt connected to the tribe in some way, like literally on a spiritual level or something.
He's got Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he does.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know. There could be a little bit of that, but I mean, he also knows that he he's got to figure out what to do, because
yeah,
he's got to get his ship back, his
exactly.
fire spray gunship, which we'll talk about later. Um, and he doesn't have his armor. He's got to he can't just like go to town and leave. Like there's things
Yeah,
he wants to do on Tatooine. So he could see the Tuscans as being his ticket. Um,
yeah.
so I
But I
don't
was
know. I mean,
unsure. I was unsure of the flashback timeline, but I think looking at the most recent episode, number 4, how it merges seemingly not long after certain events, which we'll get to, but I think it's clear that he lived with the Tuscans all the way from post Return of the Jedi to Mandalorian. Like it wasn't, in other words, it was straight up 5 years, that
yeah,
he that
there
you
is
know,
an issue in Star Wars with certain things. Um, how long certain
yeah,
characters were doing certain things, like Luke with Yoda, or
yes.
Ray with Luke. Um, Now, I guess to a lesser extent, Boba with the Tuscans, but that's pretty clear. Like he was there for a lot longer than is even implied. Um,
Yeah, yeah, because they made it clear once he finds the injured Finnick in this last episode that then merges with the 5 years timeline of Mandalorian. So, there's the
yeah,
answer right there.
but I guess the question is like how how long was he with the Tuscans versus how long was he just kind of
In
bumming
the
around in
Sarlacc.
the bumming around in the Dune Sea by
Y-
himself, you know?
Yeah, well, that was the initial thing. I was thinking which was the longer thing, and I think if I had to guess, it was the Tuscans.
Yeah,
I think
that's what
he
I
was
would
with
guess.
them. Like let's say like 4 years with the Tuscans. Maybe he bummed around for 1 year in the Dune Sea. So, you
Maybe.
know,
I mean, he would be he still wanted to get his ship and all that stuff. He still had that plan. It
he
probably
was
kicked
he
into
was
high
looking.
gear.
Yeah, he was looking at the palace as we saw through his
Mhm.
his scope. But anyway, I think that's all I want to say about episode 1 too. A couple other things real quick. We caught a glimpse of the Nikto biker gang attacking a moisture farm,
Yeah.
which later are revealed to be known as the Kintan Striders, of which the name is a reference to the creature native to the Nikto homeworld of Kintan, as well as being the creatures seen in the holographic Dejarik board in A New Hope, which is the
Mhm.
one, I think it's the one that is defeated by R2's piece. And
Oh, a little foreshadowing.
Yeah, I know, right?
Retconned foreshadowing.
But I think I had in my CCG cards back in the day, I think I had the Kintan Strider card. So as soon as that was mentioned a couple episodes in here, I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense," because I had the card. That name stuck out. So that's the name of that gang. Um, but yeah, they're going to be more relevant in the coming episodes here.
Yeah, a bit. Um, so a lot of people didn't like this episode. I would say my only real beef, and it's not a deal breaker, but um, Boba just seems a little bit chatty when
Mhm.
the helmet's on,
Yep.
and he's making there's too much humor from Boba himself
Yes.
versus humor around him. Like,
Hmm.
I feel like he should play the straight man more. Maybe that's
Hmm.
part of the problem that people have, because there's
Yeah.
this myth, this hype and this mythology built up around him from the original trilogy.
Yeah, there's
Um,
like old Boba who barely spoke and was the man with no name, like Clint Eastwood's
yeah,
character from the old westerns, versus now Fett with no helmet a lot of the time and kind of talking more. And it's a different vibe. It's a different
but
thing.
I don't know if
And
people are ignoring prequel Django and Boba too, because I
right.
mean, you know, I wouldn't say Django wasn't jokey, but like he cracked that joke when he was chasing down Obi-Wan over Geonosis, right? With Boba.
Which joke?
I don't know. He made some crack about like when he was chasing him down. I don't remember the damn
we
line.
we won't be seeing him again. He was being sarcastic. Like we really will. No. No, I know what you mean. There was some dry, subtle humor in there in
Yeah,
Attack of the Clones.
and even Kid Boba is like fire. He's like being an annoying little kid. Ha ha. Ha. That stupid
Exactly.
that stupid laugh. Um,
I guess that humor carried forth
so
into the
it's
future.
not completely out of character, and even so, like I feel like in light of later flashbacks, like
Mm-hmm.
more information from his time with the Tuscans and his I guess the best way you describe it is softening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, I feel like when he's got the helmet on, sitting on the throne, and he's talking to the different uh, people coming with their tribute and stuff, he would not show any sort of like confusion and or um, vulnerability
I'm
or
confused.
yeah, like he wouldn't he would just stare at him. I feel like, and then
Right,
Fennec would say something like the humor should
right.
be around him,
Should I kill him?
right? Like
Yeah.
he just I honestly I wonder if you went and you just like muted that line completely,
Mm-hmm.
if that scene would that little snippet would work better.
We need the
So
Book of Boba Fett fan edit.
oh god, I wouldn't go that far, but it's coming. But yeah, that's like the only thing I can really think of, other than like he kind of got his ass kicked and stuff. But at the same time, I mean, guy's hanging out a back the tank in his free time, so
Yeah.
he's got issues probably that went further than just the scarring from the
Right, right,
Sarlacc stomach acid and the Tatooine sun and stuff. There could be
right,
other issues that he's got to clear up with the back to
right.
that's weakening him.
He's got Sarlacc cancer.
Oof. which
All right.
later on they don't spell it out or anything, but they do. There is a point later in the series where they're like your back to treatment is done, like you're fully healed,
Mm-hmm.
like they say it.
Yep.
So it's like that kind of like implies that there was an issue like these first four episodes. So
Oh yeah, for sure. But does anyone want to notice this one episode in? No, of course not.
while I mean, people jump to conclusions pretty
That's
quick.
why I was like, I'm just gonna wait and see how these things pan out. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna judge the whole series on one episode. And right away on the second episode, it got a lot better for me personally.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about chapter 2 now. The tribes of Tatooine.
directed by Steph Green, who I wasn't really familiar with. I looked her up on Wikipedia. I did find an entry here. She's directed pretty much TV stuff, a couple small movies, I guess, but episodes of American Gothic, Bates Motel, Luke Cage, The Man in the High Castle, Watchmen. So kind of jumping around different genres and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Seemingly an up and coming director, but
Getting her
yeah,
chops.
yeah, definitely, which is great. I like that Lucasfilm allows opportunities for people that are kind of up and coming with TV and stuff. So, um, yeah, this episode, I remember just especially near the end, which we'll get to with the speeder train, but like after the first one kind of being like, yeah, that was pretty good, this one I was like, wow, that was great.
Yes, a much
Especially
much
the
stronger episode.
yeah, I liked it. So, um this one starts basically after interrogating the assassin of the Night Wind with an empty Rancor pit. Fett and Finnick visit Mayor Mok Shiaz and Mos Espa, or is it Shays? Mok Shiaz, who is an Ithorian with a translator box similar to the bartender of Old Joe on Rebels. Soon after, the twins arrive, who are the Hutt cousins of the late Jabba, and who I initially thought they looked like they were conjoined.
I
Did
thought that too. I was wondering that, but then I
it
was like,
looked
no,
really disturbing.
it's just they're just really close together. But
Right, right. It was initially very disturbing. Um, I still think that's an idea they should use though in the future at some point. Some conjoined hut. That'd be so gross.
yeah,
Um, anyway, they're the cousins of the late Jabba. Black Chrysanthemum, the Wookiee bounty hunter, is seen nearby in a threatening manner. And that was a cool little callback to the Marvel comics because he showed up in the main Star Wars series first back in 2015, and then he later was seen in the Vader comics and I think the Doctor Aphra also. So he's been seen, and I was just reading some of the Vader comics like a few months ago, so he was kind of fresh in my mind, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." As soon as I saw him, like black-haired Wookiee, I'm like, "Hey, that's Black Chrysanthemum. It's got to be." And I really liked the way he looked. Like it's hard to describe this, but in Revenge of the Sith, when we saw the Wookiees on Kashyyyk, there was something that I mean, they looked fine, but there was something kind of off about the face and like the eyes,
oh, dude,
especially
one
on
of them
that.
looked weird.
Yeah, and especially like even Chewie in that movie, it looked like a bargain bin Chewbacca.
No, I don't. I think
Like
Chewie
not
looked all
not
right, but
not bargain bin, but there was something different about his mouth in the way they did it in that particular movie, which I didn't care for. But when
maybe
when
you
they
got
did
some dental
Chewie,
work.
got something to work. When they did Chewie again in The Force Awakens and everything, I felt like that was more in line with the original
Yes,
trilogy, other
yeah, they
than
did.
the hands,
Yeah,
the paws.
you actually
But
saw his fingers.
he saw his fingers for the first time. But Black Chrysanthemum, the way they made him look, and especially the like gold colored eyes, like yellow, that was creepy. Like it reminded me of
I didn't.
like,
I was gonna mention his eyes because it's Carrie Jones plays Black Chrysanthemum, and he's
okay,
he's like a makeup guy. Um,
okay.
he's done and he's played like Predators and stuff in other movies.
I was gonna say this guy looks big,
Yeah,
whoever it is. So
but I looked him up because there was something about his eyes, Black Chrysanthemum's eyes, that really was like it
yes,
stood out, and it was so expressive and like
yep,
made him look like a maniac of a Wookiee.
yeah, yeah.
Like, um, I didn't notice that his eyes were a particular color other than brown, but just how expressive he was, and I don't know that anybody else in that suit playing him would do as good as Carrie Jones because
Yeah.
there is a lot of there's a lot communicated through the eyes. And I thought it
Mhm.
was interesting because that's not really the case with Chewie. Um, Peter Mayhew is very good at expressing with body language.
Hmm.
more so. So I thought that
Yeah.
was an interesting contrast in these two Wookiees, you know.
Yeah, because like Chrysanthemum was kind of subtle. His movements were very slow. He's holding, I think, a weapon, like a blaster or
Hmm.
something, and he's just kind of carefully standing there, looking threatening with almost no movement other than walking.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was almost like less is more.
Yeah, it was
Um,
great because it that was part of the issue I had with Solo is that all the Wookiees kind of just they just kind of look like Chewie, you know, different
yeah,
sizes and
just
stuff,
skinny
but
and
it wasn't like
starved, but
it wasn't as diverse as, you know, back in the holiday special with Lumpy and all them
and itchy
and Itchy.
with his weird mouth and everything.
It's the toothless mouth.
Yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
it's yeah, I don't know. It's nice now to see another Wookiee and him to be very different from Chewie, and
I'm
in more
yeah,
ways than one. Not just the coloring, like he's bulkier.
I'm
His
glad to
eyes are
see
more
some
expressive. So
I'm glad that Lucasfilm is more inclusive now on its depiction of Wookiees because
yeah,
this is what we've been needing.
that's right.
Um, so the twins show up with Black Chrysanthemum, and there's some cock waving from all parties as before the Huts continue on their merry way. And by the way, this is the first time since Gardulla and Jabba in the Phantom Menace that we've seen some live action slash CG Huts because pretty much everything we've seen in recent years has been on the Clone Wars,
Hmm.
Rebels, or whatever. So,
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit after the episode, but it was nice to see a modern CG hut because
yeah,
I was never that impressed, even with the Phantom Menace Jabba.
yeah.
Um, so it'd be really nice if they went back and like updated all the hut models from
Again,
again, yeah, from A New Hope and the Phantom Menace. But yeah, they looked really good. Not as
yeah,
good as you know, practical Jabba from Return of the
right,
Jedi. I don't think you
right.
can top that without using practical effects, but they looked
Yeah,
very, very good.
they did look good. And a little Easter egg, they're eating one of them is eating a little furry white thing, which is turns out is a hujib, which is from the old Marvel comics from the 80s. There's these little cute furry white things called the hujibs, which the rebels actually put their base on their forested planet of Arbra for a while, between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So that was kind of a funny little thing,
Oh,
and
I'm sure everyone picked up on that.
everybody, yeah. And that was the funny thing. I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for someone else pointing it out because I've not actually been seeking out Easter eggs. I've been trying to just notice them on my own with this show because I
Yeah,
figure I'll go back
same,
and see all that stuff anyway.
same.
So yeah, and that was just one of the few things that crossed my path. But anyway, Fett goes back to his back to tank to recuperate again. Now, 75% of this episode is flashback. That initial part was only like 15 minutes or less. Most of this is flashback. It goes back in time to Fett learning the ways of Tusken life, training with their weapons. One day, a mysterious speeder train rushes by, shooting and killing several Tuskens. This is later seen to be a transport path for the Pike Syndicate and their speeder train. And so Fett has a plan to take down the train on its next trip through Tusken territory. He travels to Tashi Station, which is something we suspected from the trailers, from brief little glimpses that you pointed out one where there's the door button. I was like, holy crap,
Yeah,
someone noticed it.
I saw somebody had noticed that the door with the you know, the door controls and the layout and
Yeah,
everything was straight out of the deleted scenes of A New Hope
it
when
was
it
when
went to
Luke is
Tashi
coming in
Station.
Tashi Station to meet up with Biggs and Cammy and Fixer. And sure enough, Cammy and Fixer have been recast in this, and they are being assaulted by the Nikto thugs. So Fett comes in, beats the crap out of them. They did a really good job. The girl who plays Cammy looks just like the original. Like if you did a side by side
Hmm.
comparison. And same thing with Fixer. It's the subtle things like the sideburns and the jacket and stuff. So it's just trippy and weird to see these characters again because they're prominently featured in the old radio drama. So
Yeah.
it's just very strange, and
I
they really nailed Tashi Station.
I was really disappointed that when Fett left, he didn't leave with one of the gang members' clothes, a la Terminator 2.
I need your
G-
speeder.
Give me your boots, your what does he say? Your boots, your
Your
clothes, and your
keys.
motorcycle.
Yeah, I know
He could
because
have
that's
said
how
it too, in his Tamura
oh
voice, in
man.
his Boba
And all
voice.
we needed also maybe one of the Nikto like breaking a pool stick on his back.
Oh, that'd have been so good.
But yeah, I like it when he takes the chug of the beer and he's just like, ah, he's
Those
all done
stun
with this.
sticks, because the gang had the stun stick things,
Right.
very overused now. I feel
They
like
are the yeah, this
they're
it's
very
starting to become a
ubiquitous
trope.
because they're non-lethal, right? That's I think
Exactly.
that's the thing. Even I didn't mention in the first episode, but it was something I noticed on a rewatch, is that when Boba's getting his ass kicked by the Tusken when he tried
Yeah.
to escape, he's getting hit in the face and stuff with a gaffy
It's
stick.
dude.
No
Yeah.
blood, no bruising, nothing.
Yeah,
It
I know,
is
right?
definitely Disney Disney
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like
Um
if Disney made Empire, Luke wouldn't have any scars from the Wampa.
Wampa. Yeah, I know,
But
no
I mean, it's
kidding.
whatever. That's not a big deal. It's just something I noticed, as
Yeah,
like things are
yeah.
very, you know. But then other times, like
Sanitized.
Boba, disintegrates that guy. So I
You
don't
never
know.
yeah, you never know. I guess it's they just cherry pick where they need stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, he takes down the Nikto thugs at Tashi Station. He rigs together some of their speeders and he brings it back to the Tuscan tribe. And he convinces them through his his little pig Tuscan language, I guess you'd call it,
Mm-hmm.
instead of pig Latin, that he's going to take down the speeder train the next time it goes through. So there's kind of a hilarious montage of him training the Tuscans how to ride these speeder bikes, jumping from one bike to another. I love that scene. It was really good. It was kind of cheesy, but I mean, come on, you just
They could
gotta
have played
laugh.
it. They could have played it different, where like again, Boba was a little bit more like dry and straight.
Yeah,
Um, he was just maybe 10% too silly, himself.
yeah.
Um, but it's whatever. It's fine. It's kind of it's the obligatory training
hmm
montage. It's
hmm
cliche, but it's necessary. So
And those are always the scenes for whatever reason that I laugh at. So I don't know why. It's just my
yeah, it's
thing.
fine. And when he's sitting there, he's like, motioning like this is how you
Like a
ride it.
bantha.
He's like a panda. He's got that
Like it.
stupid look on his
It's a
face.
stupid look, and he's like, it's so funny because he's like holding the handlebars almost like it's a Harley too. So it's
Uh-huh.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
It's
what no,
it's funny.
that's funny. Hey, I laugh every single time Jar Jar steps in that bantha shit. Every single
Icky
time.
icky goo.
Yeah. I am I'm 41 years old. I still laugh at that shit 20 years later.
We're probably
So,
one of like three people on the earth that still think that scene is funny.
it's you, me, and
But
Lucas. That's it.
I think you're right. Uh, anyway, so they train on the speeder bikes, and then this basically leads up to a really fast-paced, amazing action scene. Classic Western train heist, basically. Not that different from, this is something we've seen a couple times. We saw it in Solo with that train on the rails on Vandor.
Hmm.
And then there was the Juggernaut scene from near the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian when Mando is taking out the local tribes, mercenary guys that are throwing thermal detonators on the Juggernaut. It was very similar to that. But this was like, I don't know, it was visceral. It was classic Star Wars.
Hmm.
It was just, man, my jaw was on the floor. I loved this whole scene. So
Yeah, it's
I
weird. I
don't
mean, it
know.
was very Western. They, they say in interviews and stuff that this series is supposed to be is supposed to be much more like um, crime family slash mafia type show. But with Star Wars, it seems to work. Everything seems to gel better when it's more Western.
Yeah, yeah. And
So, and
action, fast
this
paced
yeah,
chase.
this scene was very gelled very well. So
Yeah, and I like the train droid. He was interesting, kind of steampunk in a certain way. And I found myself really caring for the other Tuscans, the ones that didn't survive. You know, there's the one that was blown off the top from the afterburner kind of thing when it started, and then another one like fell, and then there was the one that was like barely hanging on, and you're like, no, and it's another example
I
of these
don't.
brief things.
They're
Yeah.
animals, and they should all be slaughtered like animals.
Animals. Yes.
Which I
But
have related to that. After we get done with the
yeah,
synopsis, I'll bring something up about that.
for sure. So anyway, basically the train is stopped after a lot of like intense battle and action, and basically he negotiates with the Pikes who are running the train to not go through the Tuscan territory anymore, and trying to prevent further Tuscans from being massacred.
And the
And
first time we see Spice, right?
yeah, I think you're right
I think it's the
as
first
far
time
as
we
like
actually see
visually.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, because it's only been shown in cargo containers in
right.
like Clone Wars and stuff. They never show it though. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. And then of course there was the well, did you want to talk about the Tuscan Massacre now? I was going to talk about the lizard scene coming up.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's in relation to that train. It was something I noticed the first time I watched it. The sound that the train makes, because they're the Tuscans and stuff. They're sitting there on the dunes or whatever, hunting
Yeah,
the animals and stuff, and then you hear like a sound in the distance, and they all like perk up and they go to the dune to look over the dune to see what it is and stuff. And the sound at the very beginning sounds like very reminiscent of the updated sound that Obi-Wan makes in A New Hope to scare off the Tuscans.
the crate dragon sound that he supposedly makes.
Presumably, well, see, presumably it's the Krayt Dragon, but they used the old sound as the basis for the Krayt Dragon in Mandalorian.
Interesting. Yeah, you're
So,
right.
because I went back and I watched those scenes in the Mandalorian, then I went on YouTube and found some like comparison stuff with all the
Hmm.
different updates that they've done to Obi-Wan's
So I
sound,
think
and
there's
then
three different versions from A
yeah,
New Hope.
yeah, two are kind of close to each other, and then the new one's like crazy.
The new one, I have to describe. So I read this, I think, on Reddit or something. Someone said the new one from the 2011 Blu-ray and Disney Plus sounds like a gay man stepping on a Lego in the middle of the night.
uh, I don't know. Maybe we'd have to talk to Ben Bird about that. He's he's the one that's got the sound archive. So
Yes,
I don't
yes.
know if he's going. Yeah. I don't even want to speculate. Well, whatever the source of the sound is, to me it sounded very reminiscent of the updated sound. And this is it's they kind of do this later on where they kind of straddle later in episode 4, I think they straddle uh, special edition and pre-special edition New Hope
Yeah,
or original trilogy stuff. And this, not A New Hope, but original trilogy stuff.
right.
This
Like
I
the
thought,
Emperor's yell.
well, it's the Sarlacc. They kind of
Oh yeah, yeah,
show, yeah, but yeah,
the
the beak
beak and
thing.
everything.
But anyway, I thought they were doing it with this because of course the bones that 3PO is passes by
Yes.
when he's on Tatooine. It's we all thought that was a crate dragon,
For
and
years it was
I
described as that,
I
although
guess
it
it's
was
still,
never. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I guess it still is, but
it's like a
with
variation.
what we saw on in Mandalorian, it's very different. So what I
Yes.
thought for a second, and it could still be implied that this is the case, that there is another creature.
Hmm.
Um, I thought that train wasn't a train, like at first, because it's so far away. I thought it was another creature. I thought it was that creature, the bones that you
I
see.
thought it was gonna be a just a crate dragon, just straight up, just like the
Well,
one
yeah,
from
I thought
Mando.
at first, and then when I realized that it was the updated sound and it was different than the sound they used in Mandalorian, I thought they were like kind of fixing that retcon and making it a separate creature and a separate sound, and it was going to be a new creature. That's what I
Yes.
thought maybe they're going to do, but they didn't. It was a train, but then at the same time, maybe the train, makes that sound.
Yeah, who knows?
That could be this. I don't know. I don't know. It was just for like 3 seconds. That's what I
Yeah,
thought was going on. It turned out
right,
to be a
right.
train, but I thought it would have
But
been really
that's the
cool.
other thing too. How many speeder trains do we see in Star Wars? It's actually very not common because the only one we mostly know of, like as fans, is the one in Ord Mantell and Shadows of the Empire, the
Yeah,
video game.
yeah,
That's the one most of us all know when we think of Star Wars and
right.
speeder trains because yeah, they're seen here and there, but not as much as ships and other things. So, and
So
especially on Tatooine, you just don't expect you're with Tuskens in the desert. You don't expect to see a speeder train run
right.
by the Pike Syndicate just to randomly go by. It's just kind of out of left field. So yeah, it
Yeah, but
was
I
different.
that's what I thought, and I would love to know if they actually did use that as like a basis for that initial sound. If they used Obi-Wan's updated sound,
Yeah, I'd be
which
curious.
I still think they should change it altogether and make Obi-Wan holding his lightsaber and making lightsaber sounds to scare the Tuskens away, because there's in this series, especially because there's so much Tusken stuff, there there's a there's no reference to Anakin killing that tribe, and I feel
Yeah,
like that should be like in Tuscan folklore. Like they should mention it, but they
you
never
know
do.
what?
I wish they
Now
would.
Now that you mention it, in one of the Vader comics, it was kind of a mini comic. It was like an epilogue story, like a 4-page comic by
Mm-hmm.
itself, but it was in the back of one of the Vader comics. At one point, Vader is on Tatooine. This takes place like after A New Hope. He's on Tatooine. He's actually meeting with Dr. Aphra and Black Chrysanthemum about a job. They're supposed to find Luke,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And I think Fett is also around this same time period. And after he meets with them, and they're in the desert and everything on there's some rock, like Vader landed in a shuttle or something.
Mm-hmm.
But then he goes off and he he, he sees these Tuskens. I'm trying to remember. I read this a few months ago, but it was almost like he went to this area where there was Tuskens and they erected this big kind of like wooden, like I don't know if you call it a totem or a sculpture or whatever, but it was supposed to be represent Anakin as this like vengeful Tusken
Spirit,
god.
yeah,
Yeah, that like wiped out, and I think it might have been at the remains of that village.
yeah.
But Vader visited there and then saw this. That's all I remember.
Mm.
I think there might have been something with a Tusken, but I don't remember the
Yeah,
details.
see,
But
I
yeah,
wish they would reference it in the show. If you're going to do that much stuff with the Tuskens, I wish
I
they had
know.
referenced it just in
But hey,
passing.
that's canon now, just like Book of Boba Fett. So you never know. Maybe we'll see the somewhere down the line. Maybe we'll see this totem or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that would be cool to see in live action rather than a comic book. Um, See, because like you said earlier, another episode, the comics never really matter that much. The
yeah.
stories. Like this would be I don't know, something cool to see. Um, but yeah, that's episode 2.
The lizard.
Oh, the lizard. So after celebrating victory at the Tuscan village, Fed is gifted a seemingly a pet from the Tuscan chief, and this lizard goes into his nasal cavity unwillingly to Fett, and has himself a psychedelic
Yeah,
vision
Fett
quest.
didn't consent.
He did not
To...
consent to this lizard. He has like a psychedelic vision quest where first you think it's all in his head and he's tripping out, but then as it goes on, you realize he really did walk out of the village while tripping, and he's having these visions of his past merging with his present, and I really like the glimpses they used of young Boba. And it's been seen throughout the series here and there where he's thinking of life on Camino and such. Like the shot of young Boba looking out the window as the ship formerly known as Slave One flies off with Django. Um, but yeah, this is a trippy, very weird scene. And he ends up at this tree somewhere in the desert, which almost is also flashing back to like inside the Sarlacc. So it's like the branches are representing the tentacles and he's
Mm-hmm.
fighting against it. And clearly
You
there's,
imagine coming up on him like fighting a tree.
I know,
You know,
right?
it's like, oh man,
Right.
that guy's got a lizard in his head.
I know. But I want to know more about this tree. Like, is it really out there, or was this some kind of,
Well, he came
I
back
don't
with
know.
wood, right?
He came back with wood, but like,
So
I
he
don't
did
know. It's
find the
just,
tree. I think the
it,
quest, it's a vision quest to get your gaffy stick, and
yeah,
you got to
yeah.
find the tree. That's how you
You
find the
gotta,
tree or whatever.
right. And so then he brings it back, this branch to and the lizard pops back out of him. And he's fine. And so he uses this tree branch. They help him forge his own gaffy stick, which is a very cool scene. I liked it. And there's a little reference to Ralph McQuarrie artwork with the design of the metal sheath next to where they forge it.
Yeah, that was a
And
really cool shot.
that was a great shot. And yeah, so he truly feels connected to the tribe now. He has his own gaffy stick and he's gonna have this vision quest. I think this is where we really feel Fett's bond to the tribe. This was a very Tuscan oriented episode. You really get to know the tribe. Obviously, there's a lot of grunting that we're not going to understand, so they can only convey everything is conveyed through Fett and his kind of, pigeon Tuscan.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a great episode. I don't think I have anything else more to say about it.
Nope. This was one of the high marks of the series so far,
Hmm.
and a
Absolutely.
nice follow up to episode 1, and then of course there's episode 3.
So we got the Streets of Mos Espa. That's this next episode, and this one was again directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Somehow he got saddled with the 2 worst episodes, at least so far.
Saddled
I
with or created
I,
the
I
worst.
don't know that I would. I, it just didn't work. I don't know that it's Robert Rodriguez is a great director. He's directed
Really
awesome
good,
movies.
but he's
He
also directed Spy Kids. So
Well, but he also directed that episode of Mando with Fett that was really good.
yeah, yeah, but
So
you know what? That one, I had some issues with that episode though, and the things I liked about it were good, like Fett himself and the Dark Troopers and things. But there was also some minor things I didn't care for in that episode, and I was thinking back on that, and I'm like,
well, it didn't have this stuff in it.
yeah, yeah. Um, so the beginning of the episode starts with 8D8 explaining and laying out the territories of Mos Espa on a hollow map to Fett and Finnick, and kind of explaining more of the what we've seen in the previous episodes as far as the territories of like who controls what part of Mos Espa. Talking about the Aqualish, the Klatooinians, and I think the Trandoshans.
Which
And yeah,
Mos Espa is huge now compared to what it was in, or at least what we
yeah,
saw in the Phantom Menace.
seriously, like we did not see this sunken pit kind of thing from the angle they came in at in the Phantom Menace, apparently. And I mean, you and we initially thought it was like another town entirely. I
Yeah,
was
that was gonna be
from the
Bestine or
trailer.
something.
Yeah, I was like, wait, this isn't Mos Espa. It's like massive.
Yeah,
So, you
that
know,
pit, that canyon, is very reminiscent of how Mos Eisley was depicted in Rogue Squadron 3D, the video game,
that's
because it's in a
true.
canyon in that game.
Yeah,
So
if that,
clearly, Favreau
yeah,
or somebody,
they've been
um,
playing Rogue Squadron.
big Rogue Squadron fans.
Yeah, off to the side while they're on the set. They got a Nintendo 64 all hooked up.
Come on,
Like,
Favreau's a PC gamer. Give me a break.
yeah, that's true, right? So anyway, they're talking more about these territories for the different groups, and during all of this, this guy Lortha Peel comes in, asking Fett for help in bringing to justice a group of thugs who are stealing his water. This guy's a watermonger, they called him,
I
and
love
there's
that.
this group.
That's
Yeah,
the what he is, and of course it's played by I don't remember the actor's name, but he was
this is a
in
nervous guy from Office
yeah,
Space.
it's god damn it, now I can't even remember the character's name. You just like
And I only saw the
derailed
movie
my tracks.
once.
Oh
I
yeah,
saw
I
the
love
movie
that
once, but
movie.
it is the guy, and I didn't know that until someone pointed it out. But
Milton.
yeah, Milton. That's
Milton.
that's the character. The guy who's like
He's in
super
a lot of
nervous.
space, or he's in a lot of stuff.
He's in a
That
he's in a
actor.
lot of space.
He's
Yeah,
in a
the
lot of
Space
space.
Wars.
Stephen Root. It's Stephen Root.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
he asks Fett to help him bring to justice these thugs who are. I like when he described them. Because they're cybernetically enhanced, and he described it with such disgust when he said that, and that actually goes in line with other Star Wars stories where anyone who kind of combines droid parts with biological, they're kind of looked down on as being lesser.
Well, what's interesting about that is that is something you don't really see a lot of in Star Wars
No, no,
over all the media and stuff over the years. I don't know
yeah,
if part of that's just to avoid any sort of like overt um,
pretty
comparisons
cyberpunk.
to cyberpunk stuff, but I like that as a sort of an in-universe thing.
It's cool. And I remember back in the 90s when me and friends would make our RPG characters, we would do things like cybernetic arms and stuff like that. So I've always liked it. And I felt like I think it was high time to see some cool cyborgs in Star Wars that weren't just background characters, but like front and center. Unfortunately, what we ended up with after Fett and Finnick head into town and run afoul of this gang, we run into what is basically the Power Rangers with their jelly bean colored Vespa speeders.
Yeah.
So
Um,
I just, yeah, I don't know. I don't care for these characters.
I think it's just poorly executed. I get what they were going for, but it just didn't work. I think there's the two main
No,
issues for me was um, their brightly colored bikes, although they make sense as sort of a uh, an expression for these kids or whatever.
yeah,
Um, it's how they express themselves on a planet that's as drab as Tatooine,
right, right.
but they do seem out of place. Like they'd seem more in place in like Coruscant or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
Brilliant.
and it's the gang is too human, and that's an issue I had with the gangs in The Force Awakens
Yeah,
when the two rival gangs track down Han. They're all
yeah,
human, and you're just
yeah.
like, where's the
Where's that in?
aliens?
Where's that inclusivity, Lucasfilm?
Well, it
Come on.
stands out in Star Wars. There's always like aliens sprinkled in, like in a
See,
group of
like,
whatever. There's always like one or two at least.
yeah, I like that in The Force Awakens we had like an alien X-wing pilot mixed in with the
Yeah.
females and Poe and Greg Grunberg.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good example of how to do it right. Or like say, Nia Nub in Return of the Jedi being Lando's co-pilot. Like
Mm-hmm.
mix it in, but these are all humans and it's just like, okay,
So
whatever.
I think that it just everything together just really made it fall flat. Um, and
Yeah,
it just wasn't executed properly. I think if they had like changed up the bikes a little bit and um and then maybe put one or two aliens in the group,
yeah.
then it would have been fine.
And also the main girl with her like sleeveless like biker jacket looking thing, it looks too Earth-like. It's like it looks like someone you would just see like hanging out outside of a record store in LA. Like it's so non-Star Wars. Like
Yeah.
give her give her like the at least like the kind of like the boots or like a cape kind of thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
honestly, capes add so much to Star Wars. Throw a cape on anybody, whether it's Lando or whoever, and suddenly it has a Star Wars feel.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Krennic, same thing. Give him a cape. He looks
Hmm.
Star Wars. So she just kind of stuck out, and I don't know it. And then basically, so anyway, they run afoul of this gang. Some stuff happens. It goes back to a flashback segment where Fett is negotiating with the local Pike leader, and then he returns to his camp by Bantha, only to discover that everybody's been wiped out in a rather somber scene. Um, that was sad. I grew really connected to the Tuscans, so in this flashback, Fett going back and seeing him just wiped out, it was sad. I was genuinely like, it was like right when I was starting to feel connected to these guys after the hardship of episode one, and then boom, they're all wiped out.
I
Um,
only was
yeah,
wondering if maybe the Tuscans would show up later as part of Boba's like
his
solidifying his power and taking
that's what
over.
I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Um,
And now that you mention it, maybe just some of them died, and maybe some got away. You never know.
yeah, we'll see.
Although I threw him on a funeral pyre. I don't know. He's like, nope. Here's Bob. Okay, check him off the list. All right. Here's Dave. Yep,
They
he's
should have
on the
had a
list.
scene where like he was curious or whatever, so he peeks under the mask, one of the Tuscan masks. He's just like, oh, just like a look on his face.
The first person to ever see a Tuscan with
It's
no
kind of it's
mask.
kind of like what is it in Batman when
Yes.
Batman gets knocked out and like he
Yeah.
starts raising the
Bob.
mask.
Bob is like, take his mask off. I know, right? Yeah, that'd be classic. Anyway, so during this little back to flashback, suddenly Fed is attacked by Black Chrysanthemum. He snuck in to the palace, and I
Somehow.
I read criticism of this because everyone's like, how the hell did a Wookiee sneak in to the most inner sanctum of Fett? And actually, you know where I read this criticism? I came across a post by Shadows of the Empire author Steve Perry, really ripping on on Boba Fett or the book of Boba Fett in general.
Interesting.
I saw this like a day or two ago. He has a lot of anger. I'm guessing he's angry that Lucasfilm doesn't call him up again to write any more stories. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know
know.
what, but he was just like tearing this up, and he's like, especially angry about how Chrysanthemum could get in there. But I was thinking to myself, if they wanted to explain it, Wookiees have climbing claws that they keep sheathed
Yeah,
most of the time.
right.
Maybe he climbed up the outer wall with
Well,
his climbing claws. I
I
don't
I
know.
do like I do really like it when um Lucasfilm and Disney gets pushed back, especially from like old EU people or just anybody
Right,
connected to Star Wars,
right,
pre-Disney and stuff. Because
right.
you got to hold people's feet to the fire and stuff. Um but
Also kind
yeah,
of
they
petty though, too. At the
yeah,
same
but
time,
he's a fan. I mean, I'll shit on stuff. You can
yeah,
shit on stuff, but I mean, yeah, he's a little bit more connected. He's got a vested interest in stuff and
yeah,
certain
yeah.
stuff. So, but I would say Boba doesn't have a lot going on there at the palace, right? He's
He
maybe
only
got
has a
some
couple
droids
Gamorrean guards and Finnick and
and
a couple
Fennec,
droids
yeah. So and then the Power Rangers too. Um,
who come in and help him after he gets a nice big Wookiee hug.
yeah, he got an adjustment, chiropractic adjustment.
You hear
They
it
should
crack
have,
too. I
yeah,
was like, "Whoa!"
they should have just shown Black Chrysanthemum climbing the wall or something. They should have shown him sneak in. Just spend the extra like minute and a half, a little montage of him sneaking in or something.
Or maybe a compatriot of his flew up in a speeder, and Black Chrysanthemum jumped out and into the window. Like, it doesn't need to be overtly explained, but yes, something
But
like
I
that
mean
would have
that would
appeased
diminish the
people.
surprise of the attack, right? So like
Exactly.
yeah.
That's the whole point. Is like, whoa, holy shit, he's thrown out of his back to tank and across the floor. Um. So anyway, with the help of the Cyber Power Rangers and his two Gamorrean guards, one of who gets a nasty bite on his his shoulder
Yeah.
from Chrysanthemum. I was like, no, don't kill the
Well,
Gamorrean.
he
See,
put him in the
now I'm
back.
finding. I know, right? He's like, put him in the back to tank. Um, it's funny. I'm getting all connected to these like minor things like Tuskens and Gamorrean guards. Um, but in all of this, basically Chrysanthemum gets captured in the Rancor pit, which is still empty. However, shortly after, the twins show up uh outside, and Fett goes out to see them. They do some negotiating. They offer Chrysanthemum as a gift. Fett says, okay, whatever. And then when they leave, he lets Chrysanthemum go, and which is probably a smart move
It's funny too because he
because
just runs off. He
I
just
like how he
yeah.
trots. I noticed that the last time I saw it because I watched it again. He's like trotting off, like I don't know, but and then of course the twins offer a new live Rancor for his pit as a gift, uh, delivered on like a speeder carrier by Danny Trejo Keeley. No, instead of Malakili, Trejo Keeley. Um, so
It's
here we have it.
Malakili's cousin. That's what I
Right.
choose to believe.
That's what I choose to believe too. This is I think the third time we've seen a Breaking Bad actor in Star Wars besides Bill Burr and who was the other one? I know there was another one.
Um,
Um,
what's his face? Gus.
yeah,
Gus from
that's
Breaking
right.
Bad.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes.
Um, so it was even though Danny Trejo's Breaking Bad part was like very minor, but still, it was great to see him
And
in
that's
this.
more a connection, his connection with Robert Rodriguez more than
Right,
Breaking Bad. So
that's very true. The whole scene where they put the Rancor in the pit and it's very docile, and then they're talking and everything. I like that Danny Trejo's character mentioned Dathomir as
mm-hmm.
being, he's like, it's rumored that the witches of Dathomir would ride them or whatever, because that has not been a specific thing since Legends.
Yeah,
Prior, yeah,
and if
yeah,
I didn't know any better, it would almost make me believe that conspiracy theory of they're that whole thing where people thought that Disney was gonna decanonize the sequels, and
right,
Mandalorian and the Disney Plus stuff was gonna be the new, like the rebooted canon.
uh-huh,
And it would, if I didn't know any better, I'd almost say that sold me on it. But
hmm.
there's references to um,
There's
in
lots
the
of
Disney Plus show.
things.
There's references to Disney canon. So
Oh yeah, yeah. But it was great to just hear that though, because Dathomir's been seen a lot. It was in Jedi Fallen Order. It's been in Clone Wars. It's insane how much that planet has become huge in canon compared to Legends, where it was just in the courtship
yeah,
of
it's
Princess
weird.
Leia. It's really weird. Oh, and by the way, to tie this in, I meant to mention this to you actually in a message a few days ago. I just read that Courtship of Princess Leia author Dave Wolverton passed away
Hmm.
because Kevin J. Anderson posted a little tribute to him because they were friends, I guess. And yeah, I just found out about that. So little tribute to Dave Wolverton.
That's a
He
bummer.
got his Dathomir reference now in this, and yeah, it is a bummer because he later wrote one of the Jedi Apprentice books, the first one, The Rising Force, and then
Hmm.
he wrote a few of the Star Wars Missions game books back in the late '90s. So he kind of dabbled, and I think there was some Episode One Adventures game
Wait,
books that he
when
had
did he
written.
pass away?
It must have been like a few days ago. Like it was only like,
Force.net doesn't have anything about it.
gee,
How
well,
the
what do you
mighty have
expect?
fallen.
Yeah, good
How
old
the
Force.net,
Yeah, what the
keeping up
heck?
on that cutting edge news.
Yeah, whatever.
But if you ever anyone goes to Kevin J. Anderson's Facebook page, they'll see a post. But and Dave Wolverton had written under another name also, which Kevin mentioned, and I didn't know. I can't remember what it was, but he had another author name that he would use.
Stephen King.
What's Stephen King's other one? Robert
Richard Brackman,
Richard.
or
Yeah, that's it.
Backman, or Brackman.
Yeah,
I don't remember
the
which.
Running Man author. Um,
Yeah,
anyway,
Courtship was great. I like that book. it's surprising that Dathomir became so big, but also not surprising because it was such a cool concept.
It
Everything,
was the witches
yeah, that
and
a
the
sect of
rancors.
Force users and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It's weird. It was almost like a hub planet for the witches and how those expanded and grew into characters ranging from Tenel Ka and Young Jedi Knights to events that happened, throughout so much of the timeline. It's just
And
amazing.
stuff that
So,
Lucas
yeah,
created. I mean, Lucas
yeah,
didn't seem to have much of an issue taking stuff from old EU that
yeah,
he
yeah,
wanted. He didn't necessarily have to take everything, but there's some
right,
stuff he just kind of was like, oh, okay, I'll use that.
right. And I feel like even Darth Maul mentioning it in Solo was another kind of like, whoa, that's awesome and cool that, I've heard that uttered in a Star Wars movie I
Right.
saw in the theater. Like, wow,
That went
um,
nowhere.
that went nowhere. Although,
Unfortunately. Well, maybe soon.
we'll see with these episodes. You
Yeah,
never know. We
we'll
might see
see.
some Crimson Dawn.
Oh, I
Um,
hope.
I know. So anyway, um, he has a Rancor. Very I was anxious when Fett was like bonding with the Rancor. Like I
Yeah,
felt like something's gonna happen here.
right.
And it was kind of funny that nothing did. It just very subtly like, 8D8 comes in, Master Fett, someone's here, blah blah
Well, it
blah.
shows that they really are like docile creatures, unless
Yeah, yeah, maybe so.
starved and provoked. So,
Right. And I actually almost wondered if this was the one that we saw in the Bad Batch that was captured by the Bad Batch crew and then gifted to Bib to give to Jabba. Maybe it ended up with his cousins on the Huda. So I don't know if it's the
yeah, I
same
don't know.
Rancor.
They would have to have a long, like,
Long life.
long life, long adolescence. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
seems,
You
yeah,
never know. You never know.
probably
But
not.
yeah, so anyway, oh, and then we have to get to the speeder chase, the slow speeder chase in Mos Espa.
There's not much to say about it. That was without a doubt the lowest point in the show so far.
Yeah.
Poorly executed. I get what they were going for, but it was it just too slow. And
Yeah.
that's like it just felt like TV, which is fine. I mean, this is essentially TV. It's not big budget Hollywood, action production movie.
Right.
But
Yeah, and that's the thing. I wasn't super critical of it. In fact, when I initially saw it, I didn't even notice that it was slow, but then so many people were saying that. I went back when I saw it the second time, and I was kind of like, "Oh yeah, I could see it is kind of." But also, you have to understand the streets of Mos Espa or any Tatooine city, they're very skinny. The one Twilight guy, he's in a land speeder, which is wider than a speeder bike. So
uh,
there's only so much you can do. Don't. It's not going to be the speeder bike chase of Return of the Jedi. It's just not. So
the one cool
anyway,
thing is they did have that concept art, that Ralph McQuarrie concept art that they
yes,
flew through.
that was that was so funny because you only see it for like a second,
Uh huh.
but I've seen it so much
Oh,
over the
it's instantly
years.
recognizable.
I know, it was like, okay, that was the most on the nose McQuarrie reference you could possibly think of.
But so fitting too. Like it didn't
It's
feel
like
out of place.
it's a tribute painting to Java that somebody did, and they're
Yeah.
just like transporting it.
Maybe they're
Um,
taking. Maybe they were evacuate or like removing uh
the
stuff from
treasures from the
like,
palace,
well, from his like his townhome in Mos
right?
Espa.
His townhouse.
Yeah.
You never know. Um, so yeah, I don't know. That's episode 3. Um, it's the Streets of Mos Espa. That was the title of that one. Any other thoughts on that one?
um no, I mean, the it was just the speeder thing, the stupid
Yeah.
mod bikers. It's fine. I've read they're based on the mod bikers from uh, England in the '60s.
Hmm.
These
Right.
these gangs that would like mod their Vespas and their scooters and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
going for something really specific, a specific reference or basis, which is kind of cool. Other than
Hmm.
it's like they're Vespas. Come on,
Most
guys.
Vespa.
Yeah, I mean, whoa, ooh. I wonder if that triggered something in somebody's head. Um, So,
I read that somewhere, and then I was like,
oh,
oh,
okay.
that's fitting.
So it would just be cool somewhere else, just not on Tatooine.
Yeah,
If I
yeah,
saw those people on Coruscant, they'd probably be a different story, or some more like slightly cleaner, more sophisticated place where there would be youths that would have like disposable income from their rich parents, and that's how they choose to like lash out. You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah.
And add some aliens in there, some Niktos or
Yes.
Rhodians or something.
Yes. Yeah. Something else.
All right, let's talk about Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. The I guess a little bit
Directed.
past the midpoint of the
Right.
series.
Directed by Kevin Tancharoen. Guess is how you say his name. And I looked up his credits, and he was involved with some garbage, Glee, the 3D concert movie, and some other Britney Spears Live from Miami. But that was early in his career. He's also directed some 16 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was involved with the Mortal Kombat Legacy web series that came out in 2011, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
He's directed some episodes of The Flash, Supergirl, The Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, Iron Fist. So a lot of Marvel TV.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that seems to be his thing these last several years. So this episode I enjoyed. I feel like these the series so far, it's like Star Trek. The even number ones
I
are a
was gonna
little
say
bit
the same
better.
thing. That's how it's shaking out.
I don't know. It's just now it starts crappy though, because let me say, so in the flashback sequence, we see Fett come across the critically wounded Finnick, as we had glimpsed at the end of the Mandalorian episode
Mm-hmm.
in season one. So we see that was definitely Fett with the spur sounds on the boots as he walks up, and I mean we knew it was anyway after season two, but it's cool to see this now from Fett's perspective.
Yeah.
So he takes Finnick on his bantha, and who knows how long he's been wandering. He goes to Mos Eisley, brings her to a cybernetic chop shop. I don't know why he brought her there and not like the local hospital, but
I mean, how many local hospitals are there on
Mos
Tatooine?
Eisley. um, now this scene I felt was the most out of place. In again, I like the cybernetic aspect. I like this that kind of thing, but like the guy with the yellow dreads who was like the main cyber surgeon, and then the music in the background, it just sounded like really generic, like late 90s electronica. It just did not feel Star Wars
I thought
to
I
me.
was watching Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be
Yes.
a dolphin, a talking dolphin, in a tank behind him,
Right, right.
and this guy was like Ice-T in that movie.
Yes. So I was reading just today actually. This guy is a friend of somebody on the show. I think it might be Robert Rodriguez.
Mm,
He's a DJ named like DJ Thundercat or something,
mm.
and I think he did the music in the scene. Um, I don't know. This should have been Dr. Evazan, and the reason I say that is they missed a prime Easter egg opportunity because, according to Galaxy Guy 4, Mos Eisley, my most referenced Star Wars book of all time, Dr. Evazan, after A New Hope, went on to have a surgical place in Mos Eisley, which he specialized in cybernetic enhancements, he called them, or
Hmm.
experiments. And it was called the Cutting Edge Clinic. And he ended up even giving Ponda Baba a cybernetic arm in a kind of an RPG story. It was like a brief little thing. It's kind of meant to give you your own ideas for adventures in the book. But if they had just used Dr. Evazan in this scene, they could have used the same actor who they used in Rogue One when we saw him, and it would have like it was so. Instead, we get random DJ guy who doesn't look Star Wars.
They're all
So
human, once again.
all human. Yep, of course. But anyway, Finnick gets her stomach repaired.
It's just a continuation of the issue with the whole mod thing. It just doesn't
Yep.
it doesn't
Yeah.
feel right. It's not
Nope.
executed properly or something.
Nope. Nope. But so I was kind of groaning at the beginning of this episode. I was like, oh, I don't know about this. But thankfully, and of course, Finnick has the whole like waking up and she has like a cyber stomach, which I imagine that would be insanely weird.
Yeah.
Um, but I liked her and Fett talking as Fett has this plan to get back his fire spray gunship.
Yeah, anything to avoid calling it its name.
The ship formerly known as Slave
I
One.
don't know why they did that. I don't know why he said his fire spray gunship and not just my ship. Like
Now,
you're almost drawing attention to the fact that you won't call it Slave
won't call it
One.
that. On the one hand, I would love to hear Slave One called Slave One. On the other hand, though, hearing him say fire spray ship is actually kind of cool too, because I think that term came from West End Games when
Yeah.
they gave the details on what kind of ship he had. So it's kind of cool, in its own way. But anyway, so he has this plan to get a ship out of Jabba's palace. He needs Finnick's help to do it. And by the way, I love the scenes with the bantha where he's like he has this bond and he's like feeding it, and that's just cute.
The
Um
banthas eat meat. Oof.
um
Oh, and there's the part where he's sitting there and he's he's like, I am Boba Fett,
yeah, that's right.
and it was
The
all
ship
that.
you seek is nearby.
Yeah, it was like very reminiscent of that line from the
The
cartoon,
holiday
and then
special.
it almost, I mean, they used it in the trailer and stuff, but then seeing in the show, I almost wish he said, I am Boba Fett, the ship I seek is nearby. Like,
Yes.
it wouldn't make
Uh,
sense. It would
I
be a
know.
little too like, are you okay, Boba? But
Yeah.
it would have been a really heavy-handed callback, but I would have
Hey,
appreciated it.
I would have loved it because of what it was calling back, though. So
Yeah,
it's okay as long as we have Boba Fett sample it with his boombox. Then it's all perfectly
fat
fine.
with a PH,
Yes, exactly.
not
For all you
Tamura.
kids that don't understand that word from the late '90s. Um, but so anyway, he and Finnick plan this thing. He sends a little seeker tracker thing inside the hangar, which goes through the palace. That almost reminded me of Batteries Not Included, the movie,
Yeah.
because it was like the little droid ship things. So that was kind of cool. So anyway, they plan this heist to get Slave One out. We're just gonna call it Slave One because we take chances here. Um, what did you
Unfiltered.
what did you think of this segment or this episode in general? But specifically this part coming up.
Um, I yeah. I was thinking
You
about
know
the
the one I
actual.
mean.
I liked some of it, and there was just one part that kind of bugged me. But you talking about the kitchen scene?
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked the scene overall. There was just
It
one.
was fun, and it was a I saw a meme later that had like it was like instead of Boba Fett and or instead of Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny, it was Boba Fett and this little droid. But it was
Hmm.
like he looked like Elmer Fudd
Yeah,
but he had a hood and everything. But it was silly in a certain way, but it was kind of that like Lucas Star Wars humor
yeah, it
where
worked
I
really
didn't
well.
it worked well for what it was, but like I don't know. It was I loved it. And the only
The
bummer
General
was
Grievous kitchen droid.
that was the only bummer is that you expect this big epic thing. It pulls out like six armed with like Ginsu knives
Uh-huh.
and chopping, like utensils. And
And I forgot. Did
unfortunately,
we figure out that was not uh EV-99?
good question. That other droid, it had the exact voice of EV-99 from Return of the Jedi, but it was a different color because EV-99 was kind of like rust, like reddish, and this one was like gunmetal gray, silver. But then also EV-99 is supposed to be in the cantina bartending during
That's the
this
only real
time.
issue. I thought he was like kind of a reddish color in the kitchen, but I don't know. I mean,
I'm just
it can't be
going
the
from
same one.
memory.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
can't be the same droid, I suppose. One of them has to be EV-99.
It is EV-99 in the cantina, voiced by Mark Hamill in
Yeah.
The Mandalorian, taking place at virtually the same time.
Oh, it would have been so
So
good if like the stupid the chopping droid like complained about something, and then the EV-99 was like, "You are a kitchen droid, are you not?" You know,
right, right.
just like reference the line.
I know. So
Oh,
then there was this
oh, we should work on those shows.
this is our end to Lucasfilm right here is this
We
podcast.
just insert
Um
all our own inside jokes.
which is
No,
all they do for anyway.
yeah, I
Also,
know that's true.
I mean, really, like anyone who ever gets a job as a creative higher up, oh, they're just inserting their childhood love of Star Wars
Yeah,
into all kinds of stuff.
unless you're Ryan
All I
Johnson, apparently you hated Star Wars.
your Star Wars hate into everything, or if you're JJ, you want to break the laws of hyperspace physics. That was your
JJ
thing.
likes, you know what JJ loves? A paycheck. He loves money.
Oh, Diet
He
Spielberg likes
he
money.
he ruined Star Trek. He ruined Star Wars. Now he's gonna go ruin DC. His next victim
He's
is
on a war
DC.
path
Yeah,
to
exactly.
destroying franchises.
I'll fix it
Um,
all.
anyway, um, now there's this little rabbit droid, which I think has been seen in Clone Wars in past episodes, but never in live action physical form. And it was hilarious when Fett caught it finally and it just deactivates itself. Like
Oh yeah, because
I laughed.
he's like, do you know who I am? I am Boba Fett. Which I thought was like, I don't know, in some ways it's really funny and I like it, but in
Yeah,
other ways it's like, oh man, like
it's so cheesy.
it's like really like he like it's almost like that should be a joke where he has to like, you know, explain to people that he's Boba Fett all the
Yes,
time.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
mean, he gets his armor back eventually, so he doesn't have to do
right,
that. But um yeah, it would be funny if that was like a recurring joke
right.
of
No,
like,
no, it could be. I would really laugh if it was, but I don't know, the way the droid deactivated himself and everything, I thought was hilarious. And again,
actually, you know, it probably would have been funnier if he said that and the droid didn't believe him, and then he had to destroy the droid or whatever.
right, right. But yeah, I don't know, the whole idea of Fett holding a droid by its neck and it's just on the surface, it's so cheesy. And I want to be like, it's funny, I see a scene like that and I can like already see the anger like forming in my mind from various other fans.
Oh
I,
yeah.
having dealt with it, I can just already see the comments. Oh my god, this show fucking sucks.
How could you not love that scene when you get to see EV-99 or whatever similar droid walk,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
exactly.
stilted walking?
Like it's on wires, like the old days. No, the whole thing. I don't know. It's just, it's what do you want? It's just fucking Star Wars. It's just a cheesy fucking
That's the
Disney
thing.
Plus series.
That's the thing is, as cheesy as it is, as as however amount of things fall flat in it or are really good, at the end of the day, all of it feels like Star Wars, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
hasn't always been the case with some of the sequel trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
um, most notably the Last Jedi. But it feels in place, you know.
Yes, it
So
does.
you can't complain that much. You
Yeah.
can complain. I mean,
Um,
you know, there's everybody's got stuff to complain about, but
yeah.
overall, I feel like it fits.
Yeah. So anyway, they find Slave One eventually in this hangar. There's a big blaster battle to get it out. Finnick is taking out thugs while Fett is trying to turn it around and fly it out. And there was a lot of hilarity with that because then he like crashes through the wall and then he can't use the rear blaster cannon. And there was a whole thing. There was a whole action sequence. I've only seen this episode one time now, so I'm trying to go from my memory of like 5 days ago. But It was a good action scene. I really liked it. Um, so basically, they get Slave One out, they fly off, everything's great, and then Finnick, I think, says like, "Well, what are you gonna do now?" And then Fett says like, "I still have some business to take care of." Um, and then he goes and blasts the Nikto speeder bike gang on their
That was good.
speeders, which that was a good scene, but it's like it's funny how it's only when it's convenient to the plot that you take a starship and just blast like something smaller, like a person or speeders. But if it was like
Hmm.
any other story where the person is trying to escape a ship that's shooting at them, suddenly they're this small, tiny target that can't be hit because they'll fly. Like, for example, Dooku in Attack of the Clones on his speeder
Well, I
when,
mean, look at the firing rate on the fire spray
oh, yeah,
gunship, fire spray class gunship.
sure,
Um,
sure.
if you fire that fast, it's easy to hit them. But yeah, I know what you mean. Obviously,
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things, and it was a cool scene though, and I loved seeing the Nikto gang get their comeuppance. That was satisfying. And then we come to the Sarlacc scene. Now, this one was interesting
um,
because I was not expecting it,
I
actually.
feel like they wrote it a certain way and then they stretched it out unnaturally.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
feel like it was supposed to be he flies up, he looks at it, he
and then
drops
flies
his
away.
no, he drops his
Oh,
seismic charge.
pretty simple then.
Yeah, and kills it. And he's like, I'm
That
done,
would make
And then
sense.
he's like, I'm done
Yeah.
with Tatooine, for now or whatever.
Right, right,
But
right.
it's like they were almost like somebody sitting in the it's almost like somebody sitting in the writing room and was like, nah, you gotta stretch that out. Like we gotta
Gotta
make it a
reach
whole
for him,
thing.
man. And I was telling Nicole as we watched, I'm like, dude, there's gonna be a tentacle shooting up any second. He's getting closer and closer. He's like in the mouth. There's gonna
Yeah,
be
and it was I mean, I get that like he was like disoriented um from being in the Sarlacc and
Mhm.
he got knocked out so he wouldn't remember. But I was kind of confused as why he would think his armor was still in the
That whole
Sarlacc.
thing. That
And
whole
that's what I mean.
thing.
It comes off as like contrived and like an afterthought. Like, oh, we need to extend the scene. How do we do
Yep.
that?
Yep.
And it's like, oh, how do we get him to like get close enough to like have the Sarlacc
Yeah.
grab it?
Yeah.
All that stuff. It just seemed really unnatural. And I feel
Yeah.
like it would have worked better if he just like flew up, looked at it, and then dropped the seismic charge.
Yes.
Maybe
Yep.
chuckled like he was a kid again, and then flew away. But
Yeah.
and then I I don't know why they had Fennec drop it.
I
Like
know.
I didn't
See,
like
again, it
that.
took the power to see it's Disney and their inclusivity, and it's the fight against the patriarchy. That's why.
I I mean
Had
maybe,
to
I
be
don't
her
know.
hand.
Maybe, but it just seemed like there should be the issue should have been between Boba and the Sarlacc,
And then
and it should have
Fett
been
says,
him.
don't touch my buttons."
Yeah, and then there's got to be a quip. Disney shit and all their quips, their Marvel quips all the time. It's like it's
Right.
fine a little bit, but like there's certain scenes where like I don't know.
Yeah.
It should have been different. It's fine.
It
It's not a
was
deal
it
breaker or
was
anything.
the idea that as soon as she hit the button and the seismic charge is like rolling in, like dummy dropping, I was like, "Oh shit. And here we
How the
go."
fuck does she know what that button does?
I know, because it's not like she's been practicing
Maybe
like
if
on
Boba
sleep.
told her to press the button, like hit that
See,
button.
okay, so Finnick has already been on a fire spray class gunship that
Oh,
had seismic
she went to the
charges.
same school that Ray went to.
Yes,
That's how Ray
yes,
knows everything about the Falcon, even though she's never been on
exactly.
the Falcon or flown it, but she's
Right.
an expert.
Yes.
I don't know. It's just stuff like that. It's come on,
It's just
guys.
lazy. It's just lazy. But
Yeah.
hey, this is written by John Favreau, so normally he's on the ball, but that's why he needs Filoni. I couldn't see Filoni doing these mistakes. I couldn't at all. He knows better. So
Yeah, Filoni's got his own issues. Everybody has their own issues. That's why you
sure.
need, a team. It's a team effort, you know.
Yeah.
Lucas unchecked goes crazy
Good God.
with his
Yeah.
his super detailed stuff. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know. That didn't play off like I thought it
Yeah, it
should.
was an all right scene. I like the seismic charge blowing up. That was cool, but the execution could have been better. Um, so anyway, back to the present. Now that the timelines have kind of merged closer together a bit, we go back to the present. Fett goes back to the gambling den where the Twi'lek, played by Jennifer Beals, is, and sees Black Chrysanthemum uh, facing off against a Trandoshan at one of the card tables. And of course, an argument ensues because Trandoshans and Wookiees have their infamous uh, rivalry over the years. They share the same system, actually, their planets, which I like that the canon is actually playing up because that's been kind of an EU kind of thing for
Hmm.
years. So it's cool the canon kind of does more of that. And so it was a really tense scene. I liked that it was like this big
Hmm.
face off and then it gets really quiet. Like, oh, what's gonna happen? Is Black Chrysanthemum actually gonna walk away? But no, an arm is ripped off, and everyone that was a
I
great
love that
scene.
he
I
I
like
love that he
that.
does that and then he pays her. He's like,
I
oh,
know,
here you
right?
go. He's like, yeah, I'll rip his fucking arm off.
Yeah, and I'm glad, yeah, again, even though we don't see any blood, I'm at least glad it happened, like on a Disney Plus series because I mean, Chewie had a scene in The Force Awakens where he did that to Unkar Plutt and it got deleted. It's only in the deleted scenes because Unkar Plutt somehow tracks the Falcon to Takodana at Maz's castle,
Yeah,
and he,
I
and
think I
he's
read
like,
something about that.
yeah, so he's like trying to grab Ray, and then Chewie comes up and rips off Unkar Plutt's arms. I
Hmm.
guess that's still canon, but anyway, uh, I'm glad that we got some Wookiee arm ripping. I mean, well, there was the scene in Solo too, but again, it was kind of off screen. We see the after effects, and Chewie throws the arms down.
And
Um,
and Chrysanthemum is now joined up with Team Fett.
that's right, which I figured was going to happen. With
Yeah.
it seems like he was going to be part of the army, the small army that Fett is creating here. And he calls a meeting. Fett calls a meeting between the Klatooinians, the Aqualish, and the Trandoshans, hoping to make alliances against this coming war with the Pikes that seems to be forming and happening across town. So it seems like from what I can tell, the next few episodes, that's what it's going to be. This big war against the criminal empires in Mos Espa and Tatooine. So, and then after conferring with Finnick, after everyone leaves the dinner,
Which they don't
uh,
agree to join him. They just agree not
right,
not to join the Pikes
right, kind of
against
be
him. So
neutral.
yeah,
Yeah, to
exactly.
have a neutral alliance. But after Fett confers with Finnick, you know, she says, credits can buy muscle if you know where to look. And then we hear Mando's theme for a
Did
second.
did they have to be so obvious?
It was, but I was like, okay, like immediately I was like, I guess we're gonna see Mando next episode. But I mean,
I don't know. I
yeah,
mean, if you go by fan like theories and everything, you're going to see everybody in this show. You're
yeah, I
going to
know,
see
right?
Luke.
Darth Maul, Han
You're going to
Solo,
see Han
Kira.
and Ben. You're going to see little baby Ben or whatever. I've seen all that shit. It's
Yeah,
like, what are you
yeah.
guys? I mean, maybe, but
Yeah,
somehow, unless they get Alden, I don't think they're going to get Harrison, de-aged Harrison, because that's
I
that's
don't
the
know.
theory is like they would get de-aged Harrison.
Well, I think I even said something like that during our lore play for Super Empire. I said maybe we'll see Harrison at the end of a Book of
Well,
Boba
they
Fett.
did have the one. I can't remember the character's name from Mandalorian. They had that quick cameo in the background of the the one that she runs the spaceport with the three pit droids from
Oh, was
Mando.
she?
Yeah,
Was
she was
she?
in the background of a shot.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't
You didn't
know.
notice that?
Uh, no, I didn't. No one. I didn't see a thing or any. No one pointed it out to me.
Oh,
So I
Yeah, I can't
missed
remember
it.
which episode it was, but you see her in the background. She's walking with 3 pit droids.
Oh man, okay. I gotta check that out again.
Anyway,
But see,
so
that's why I've been enjoying noticing things on my own, so I can
right,
go back and figure
yeah.
this out.
So that's what people think. I don't think that Han's gonna show up.
I would think my this is just my
I don't know why he
personal
would. Why not?
guess. Well, in the old EU, there was more of a Fett Han connection
Yeah, I know. They
because
they
of the
played that
bounty.
up. Yeah, they
They really
played that
played
up.
that up, and because remember there was that story from Tales of the Bounty Hunters where it flashes forward to 15 years after Return of the Jedi when they see each other again and they're both pointing a blaster at each other
Hmm.
like a face off or whatever. But
I
it
want I
seems
want a
like canon.
de-aged I want a de-aged Harrison, but he like still moves like an 80-year-old.
Heck yeah.
And
Oh, you'll be getting that in 85.
yeah, I know.
85 coming in 2023.
If we're lucky, if Harrison's lucky.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Seriously.
but I don't know. I mean, it's pretty obvious Din's gonna show up, but
I think so.
because what is he doing? He's I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because they'll if he shows up, they'll touch on like what he's got to go through coming up in Mando season 3 as far
Yeah,
as with the dark
or
saber and all that stuff.
exactly, Bo-Katan and that. Maybe we'll see multiple Mandalorians with Din. Um, who knows?
I want to see there's an opportunity for wait, so I can't remember at the end of was it season 1 of Mando when the Mandalorians get wiped out?
Yeah,
Their little enclave or anything, not the Mandalorians
yeah,
proper, but their
yeah.
little enclave gets wiped out.
Hmm.
But they're not all wiped out. It's some of them. So like we could get Favreau's Mandalorian character, right? Because
That's
doesn't
right.
he shows up with a bunch of them at the end, right? I'm trying to remember.
It's in the middle of the season,
At the
but then
mid season.
at the end, we see a bunch of destroyed armor, and only the armorer is seen, but she doesn't say exactly. She doesn't
Oh,
know
that's right.
who got
Yes,
away.
right.
She,
And that
she
whole like breakout from the city was with the help of the Mandalorian. The rest of the
yes,
Mandalorians was
yes,
mid season. That's right.
yep. That was like only the third
Well, he
episode,
could
I
still be
think.
alive. I just want to see
Yeah. Oh
Favreau
yeah.
try and get into some Mandalorian
Squeeze in,
armor and take his helmet
stuck it
off.
in the gut. Yeah. Seriously.
It couldn't be any worse than Tamora right now. He
Yeah,
fills
I
up
know,
that suit
right?
a little different than what's his face, the original body for Fett.
Right. Jeremy Bullock.
That's right, Bullock.
There was a few guys though. It wasn't just Jeremy. There was another guy who was a stunt vet and for Return of the Jedi. And but anyway, that's a side story.
Yeah. Anyway,
So
so
yeah,
I'm excited for the last 3 episodes.
yep, me too. And they're right around the corner. I think they'll be wrapping up at the end of February here, so it's not that long off. And
And speaking of
man,
wrapping up,
yeah, indeed, this has been quite the episode. But we had to get it out. We had to do a little mid season recap review, and just to get another podcast out. It's been since early November. We're way overdue. We got our 3 listeners that need their update on these things. So, with that in mind, be sure to check us out on Facebook, on the YouTube channel, of course. Just look up Star Wars Unfiltered. We could be reached with any questions or comments at starwarsunfiltered@yahoo.com. And remember to check us out on Instagram, where I'm occasionally posting here and there. And we have the Super Empire Strikes Back lore play commentary is all finished. That's all up. The Super Empire one is just starting. We have 2 episodes up now. And
wait, no,
check
Super
those out.
Return, right?
Yep, Super Return. Did I say that? Did I say Super Empire again?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, Super Return of the Jedi is just starting. So look forward to those. We really brutally pushed ourselves to complete all 3 of those games. You on the last 2. So
It was fun.
it's all Jason's doing on those last games. But yeah, check those out on YouTube. So with that in mind, I hope everyone had a great time listening, and stay tuned for the next episode. May the Force be with you.
Good night.